So VHS is back with its 7th installment. We are 7 films in to an anthology franchise. This is now given the Amicus anthologies a good run for their money, because I think that there's 7 official ones of those, so they might be tied now. Depends on what you count as an Amicus anthology, Monster Club or whatever, but anyways, moving on from that, most people don't even know what the Amicus anthologies are, but you should definitely check them out. That's the first adaptation of Tales from the Crypt, so you should definitely give them a watch if you get a chance. Anyway, so this time we are taking a bit of a detour, right? We were kind of doing the year thing for a while with like 85, 99, all over the place. And this time they decided we're going to go more sci-fi and alien-ish with our concepts, which gave the film kind of more of a specific direction, as opposed to like it being kind of anything and everywhere, which I thought was an interesting way to go about this.
Yeah, me too.
And so we've got, I think, 6 different segments here with the wraparound. And the movie kind of plays out like a faux, like, documentary or mockumentary. And the framework, which is the wraparound, it tries to present a story to us, but also including the segments. But the way that the segments are incorporated don't really feel like they match the documentary at all, which is kind of annoying, because I feel like that should be what it was doing, because that's the way it felt like it was supposed to be going.
Yeah, the wraparound is the documentary, and then the other footage within the film is kind of like, I don't know, just sort of inserted.
Yeah,
so it's
weird.
Yeah, it is odd, because I really like the documentary as a wraparound concept, or even just like as a framework concept. I think that's really cool, because I don't think that that's really been done in any of the VHS movies before. No. So I was excited when it started, and I was like, oh, they're going to do mockumentary, like, that's super cool. And it is still cool, like, what we get with it, but yeah, the other footage is just like kind of inserted in, like,
just randomly for no reason.
You know, I mean, yeah.
Which means to me that they didn't have any, like, communication with each other. Like, there was no plan in place with the person who made the wraparound. The wraparound itself is its own segment.
Right.
But it's just kind of broken up in between the other segments, and there was no plan of action when it came to it. Because if you look at other anthologies, especially ones in the past, it's typically like a group of people who sit down to tell each other different tales. And so it's like, you know, either those actors that are telling the tales are in their own stories or whatever, and then, you know, it all kind of that's the nexus point where everything you know, goes off of from the wraparound. So
one thing, though, is that there are like 2 videotapes in the wraparound called like Proof 1 and Proof 2.
Yeah.
So it's
Those
possible we missed this. Yeah, because I think that that's what the footage that we're seeing is.
But
because,
they don't
like, the
talk about
story.
it. So that's the problem, is even if that's the case, no interviews are taking place towards the footage you just watched.
Right. It's
so when you
just
come out of the footage that you just watched, there should be someone there talking about that footage and saying, like, you see, these people were never heard from again, or whatever, you know, kind of insert a little, ending, kind of epilogue to their story, and add little extra pieces of information. But they're not acknowledged at all in the documentary. They literally just cut to them randomly and then come back to it like it never happened. Right? So if you were to cut all of the wraparound footage out and just play it like in a linear fashion, it wouldn't feel like anything was missing. It would all just be one cohesive thing that they kind of just broke up and put in. So that was a very odd choice, because the framework is great. And I'm thinking, why not say, and then here's tape 1, you know, and then when it comes out, there's like a couple interviews with people talking about that specific footage, and then you move in, you know, that would have made sense, but that's not here. I don't understand. So what that feels to me is that there was 6 segments that were given to them, and they were like, well, this one makes the most sense on how we can like make it the framework and the wraparound to insert the clips into, even though it's not purposely done that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that irked me a bit.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of a missed opportunity, because it is a good idea. Anyways, moving on from that. So overall, this is the best VHS film that we've gotten in a while. It's definitely better than any of the time period ones, and of course Viral. So it's probably the best one since 2. There's a lot of good segments to varying degrees of success, for sure. My favorite being the parachute one. That's
Live
all
and
I'll
Let
say.
Dive.
Live and Let Dive is the name of the
segment, I think.
No, is it?
Yeah, that's the
it
segment
is.
name.
Yeah, and this is Justin Martinez, who was part of Radio Silence. But now he doesn't do the, you know, further on, like Ready or Not and Scream movies and whatnot. Abigail, he kind of left before they went into that. I don't know what he does now for that, but he was working on the first VHS segment, which they have that October 31st episode in the last episode of VHS 1. And that's a great segment. And this is my favorite segment here. We also have one done by Justin Long, which, if you've seen his movie Tusk,
that's so
that's kind of funny, and I would assume probably the inspiration for this is all I'll say. And we also have Kate Siegel working with her husband Mike Flanagan on a segment here. Unfortunately, I know that you liked this one more than I did. That's probably the weakest segment. I like it conceptually, but I have some issues with it.
I really liked it. I thought it was very cool and a very unique, like, alien story. Since a lot of these are about aliens or alien abductions or something around that theme, but there are a couple of them that are not that, which was kind of. I mean, it's fine. I just sort of assumed, based on the trailer and everything and the name, I assumed that all of the segments would be about that.
Yeah.
And it's not, which is just maybe something to be aware of, I guess, going in case you are expecting every single one to be about aliens. But
Yeah,
I really
not.
the Stowaway is the Kate Siegel and Mike Flanagan one, and I don't know, I'm always a big fan of Mike Flanagan's. Like, I like his writing and everything, and I think she did a really great job directing this, so I was really happy with it.
I didn't dislike it.
I can see
it's just
people,
my least favorite of them.
Yeah, I understand.
But maybe on subsequent viewings, I'll come up on it. I'm not sure. I like it atmospherically. It's a very contained, and I knew instantly as the Kate Siegel piece because it had like a female protagonist as the central focus of the moment, and as soon as it came on, the way that the girl like was acting and was framed, I was like, this is Kate Siegel.
Yeah.
I can tell right. I mean, I said it within 10 seconds of it being on the screen. I was like, this has Kate Siegel written all over it.
It's a super unique concept, though, I think. I haven't seen anything like it in any, like, alien movie or piece before, so that's why I thought it was really cool. But,
yeah, it's kind of, as I said, I like it conceptually.
Yeah.
And I think because... So, I don't think it fits this movie... like... I don't want to say aesthetically. I guess maybe that's what I'm going with, but, like, the like... What's the word I'm trying to think of here?
It's
like,
almost...
so the other ones are, like, insane and fast-paced.
Yes, yeah.
And this one is more, like, slower. And it doesn't have, like, a lot going on in it.
Yeah.
So it feels very disconnected from the other ones.
I get that, yeah. I think that probably is why it feels different. I think all the other segments in this, as you said, they're really fast-paced and, like, in your face. there's a lot of like gore, a lot of really good gore in a lot of the segments, honestly, which was something I was really happy about. But the stowaway is definitely a lot more. I don't want to say artsy, but kind of like, but I guess maybe a little artsy.
Yeah, it is.
It's not pretentious or anything like that.
No.
It does have a different tone than the other ones, whereas like all the other ones kind of go for a shock value at a certain point of like how like crazy can we make this, how gross can we make it, or like, you know, any of that. So it does stand out in that way.
Sure. So the other segments are very, you know, I'm blanking on so many words right now, and it's driving me insane.
They're like bombastic and...
Yeah, they're exploitative.
Yes, yeah.
And this one is not. This one's very thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And it lingers. So, anyways, moving on from that. We also have a segment called Stork, which is our first segment.
I liked this one.
The first actual segment.
Yeah.
And this is directed by the guy who did the Thanksgiving movies, which is really interesting to see as a director here, which makes perfect sense. He also did a movie called The Headhunter. So he's a guy who likes these like lower budgeted practical effects driven films, and because it's called Stork and because he did Thanksgiving, you might be able to guess what this is all leading to. But I didn't know what it was called, and I didn't realize he was the director. So when we do finally get the reveal of what it is in the end, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that in the slightest.
Very unexpected. Really cool practical effects.
Oh my God.
In this one is like, a great segment. A great opening segment.
I wasn't loving some of the action sequences in it to start with, but then it starts to ramp itself up, and then we start to get these insane practicals and these insane visuals. Visually, this is my favorite one. It has some wild stuff going on in it, and the payoff in the end is fantastic. So, very, very strong segment. Such a ridiculous concept. And it reminded me a bit of the wraparound in VHS 94, was it? The one that starts with the cops raiding the compound and they're like finding all the VHS tapes and shooting everyone. It was very similar to that, but goes way harder and goes way crazier. So a great segment. Very, very into this segment. And then last but not least, we have, I apologize for this pronunciation, Virat. I'm going with Virat Paul. I hope I'm saying that right, because this guy has watched and commented on tons of videos on this channel for a while now. So he seems to be a fairly avid viewer of the channel, and was like, can't wait for you to see our movie, and this and that. So I've been really looking forward to his segment, and this features what I would assume is going to be the only musical number in the entire VHS franchise, now and in the future. So I was having a good time with that. I thought that, of course, because it's Indian cinema. Yeah,
very Bollywood.
What we're dealing with here.
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
They had to sneak in a dance number.
It was cool, though. It was really a unique, we haven't seen it at all in any of the other VHS segments, and it's obviously a really important part of, Indian cinema. They like their musicals, which is great.
I sure do.
And this one was, a wild segment, too. We didn't know where it was going, and then when things start happening, it's intense. It's really intense.
Yeah.
Some good gore in this one as well.
Kind of goes from 0 to 100.
Yeah, it really does.
You're wondering where it's going. You're wondering where it's going. Yeah. And then once it finally gets going, then it's just chaos.
Yeah.
What I would have liked more of, and I have a feeling that this was a budget issue, is that once everything starts to go hard, number one, Kaylee really can't deal with flashing, strobe lights effects and whatnot, and so that actually takes her out of the moment because she kind of has to close her eyes and look away. And when it's really bad, I have to do the same. This one wasn't too bad for me, but it still was a bit agitating. I know it's meant to be there to be disorienting for sure. Like that's the attempt with it, but it honestly comes off as more annoying than anything. It also it kind of feels like when they insert a bunch of static or broken images or whatever into a found footage film to kind of hide what they aren't showing, which is one of my least favorite technique. It is my least favorite technique in found footage. And the strobe light effect, it can be utilized well, but it only works in a very specific way. If you do it just for disorientation, it feels kind of lazy and annoying. It wasn't too bad, as I said, in this one.
And I think it works in the concept of like the scene that it's happening in, like with what's going on. So it's not like it's a random choice that's added in.
But the problem that it presents and the reason that I have an issue is because it kind of cuts away from everything that happens. And then when we get the lights to then become a constant again, everything's happened.
Yeah.
And it's like we missed out on all of that.
It hides some of the action.
And because we had, Stork, and we also had the Live and Let Dive segment, which never shied away from anything and was pure chaos and action, and we saw everything. It felt like, that was right in the middle of those two. It felt like that action sequence was neutered out of the film, and it was like, no, I would have much preferred to have seen that. So I don't know if that was a limitation of what he was able to achieve or whatnot. But overall, I did like that segment. There's not a bad segment in the film for me.
I don't think there's a bad one at all. Yeah.
I know you were into the wraparound, but I think because we were away from it for so long, so many different times, and we only got like seconds here and there, which we would kind of go back to it. I would like to watch that segment edited to be one segment so that I can really kind of just vibe with whatever's going on, because it feels very uneventful for me. There was just like little bits of like dialogue and exposition for moments, but as I said, you'd get so into the next segment, and then when you'd come back it'd be for like 10-20 seconds or something, and then you'd go into the next one, and then you get all invested in that one, and you'd come back, and you just kind of lose your place with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to know what's going on in this one, but I keep losing sight of it. So the wraparound's the weakest element for me when it could have been such a strong framework for an anthology.
It just made me want to watch like a full, like a mockumentary of it.
So
you know what I mean? Like I just was like, I want to watch this whole thing because I was interested in like the setup and everything. And we both love mockumentaries with found footage. It's like probably one of our favorite,
it can be done wonderfully.
Subgenres within found
Howard's
footage.
Mill, Savage Land, The Bay.
Gosh.
Like, I can go through lists and lists of mockumentaries that are fantastic. I love it as a framework, and it's a brilliant idea for a VHS idea.
Yeah.
But, like, when we're talking about The Bay, or we're talking about Howard's Mill, or whatever, when they're doing them, it's like, here's the setup for the footage you're about to watch. And, like, when Howard's Mill, when that little girl's running, and then she just like drops,
so scary.
And the way that they show it and the way that they talk about it and they focus in on it and they slow it down and they break it down, and then the people go diving into the water and looking around and stuff. And Savage Land, of course, when every time they reveal another picture,
it's so
the
scary.
way that the reason it works is because there's this slow build to everything. And if you're going to present it that way, what should have happened, but they're rushing these out because they like announced this and then within a year it's out. They should have had everyone make their segments, and then you send over the segments, and then you write the framework around the segments.
I agree, though.
But that didn't happen.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like, it's a really cool concept, but because you keep getting kind of taken in and out of it, it's hard to continue to let the build up like happen with it. But I mean, the ending was creepy and weird. But I agree with you. I think that there's not a bad segment in this at all, which is wonderful because we've definitely had other VHSs where we like you know, obviously we have favorites, but like there's always been, I feel like, one or two that you're like, I really don't like that one. And I'm glad that we both are really into this one, because I know last year, or the last one that came out, you were like not a fan.
No, I wasn't.
So yeah, this was a cool one. It's it's
Live
cool.
and Let Dive is so ambitious in its concept.
So ambitious.
And the fact that they were able to pull it off like they did, because the first like 5 minutes of the segment takes place like in a plane, and then people skydiving, and it's all very seamless.
It is.
And that's incredible in a film like this, because I don't know what the budgets are on these, but I know that Shudder threw them more money than typical. I don't know if they got financing elsewhere to up the production value on this, because I feel like all the segments feel bigger. And the fact that they were able to achieve this is my favorite like plane crash in horror segment since Overlord. That segment was also, I mean, Overlord had a bigger budget and, you know, much more grandiose this and that, so it is better in that sequence when they get shot down and they're all having to fall out of the planes and they're looking up and there's planes, you know, blowing up all around them. That scene's fucking amazing. That's like one of the legit amazing scenes in all of horror. But this one, I mean, it's a smaller scale version of that, but man, so impressive.
Yeah.
And there's a death sequence in that I was like, damn.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Really good practicals there. And then Justin Long's Fur Babies is such a freaking crazy, bizarre.
Weird.
But as I said, I think that it's heavily inspired by Tusk. And he kind of is lifting from Kevin Smith a bit there and making it a little more. So all I'll say on that is Justin Long's Fur Baby segment is kind of everything I wanted out of that movie, Good Boy.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was going to say that to you. I was totally thinking the same thing. I was like, this is good. This is what Good Boy could have been.
Yeah.
Should have been for us.
100%.
Yeah. Good stuff. It was really entertaining, and I'm very happy with it, and I think that you guys should 1,000% watch it, especially if you like the VHS movies.
To be fair, 90% of the people watching this have already seen it.
Probably already seen it, but if you haven't and you were just wanting to see how we thought about it, yeah, it's a good one, for sure. It's a nice jump. I mean, it's not the first movie we've gotten in October, horror movie, but it's a good, like, you know, big franchise kind of film to jump into the October feels with.
I would say pound for pound, this is probably the best VHS film. If you stack every segment against every segment in any other VHS film, I think this one is the most consistent.
I'd have to go. I haven't seen so many of them in so long, so I feel like I can't make a good like judgment
VHS
on
2
that.
is,
I'd have to go back and rewatch them all to
VHS
see.
2 is definitely the best previously to this one, and a lot of that has to deal with the fact that it's kind of being assisted and riding on the shoulders of Safe Haven, which is just, you know, I don't know if anyone's ever going to top that segment. It's just so fucking good. But regardless, I think that there's so many good segments in this one that if you were to stack it up against VHS 2 segment for segment, I think that this one probably ultimately wins out. So what do you guys think? What's your VHS ranking? Which is your favorite? Which is your favorite segment of this one that you watched? Live and Let Dive and Stork are the top tier ones of this one for me.
I think Live and Let Dive, Stowaway, and Stork for me. Top 3.
But I like every one of them.
I do like all of them too.
I like Fur Babies. I like Dream Girl. I like them all. So and in other ones, there's always one that I'm kind of whatever on.
Yeah.
Or I guess Stowaway right now is the one that I'm like kind of whatever on. But I want to go back and rewatch it. So anyway, that's that. We got way more to do, and I have to leave for work in like 20 minutes. That sucks.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Bye.
Bye.